All right, so you want to know how video games really affect you?
Yeah.
Like really affect your well-being?
Yeah.
We're talking, do they fry your brain or can they actually make you happier?
Right.
We did a deep dive into this massive study from 2022. It was published in the Royal Society Open Science Journal, and they tracked something like 40,000 gamers for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And they got objective gameplay data from companies, like Animal Crossing and Apex Legends and even EVE Online.
Hmm.
So that's what's so cool about this study is they partnered with like 7 major game publishers
Yeah.
to get that data.
So we're not just talking about those self-reported surveys,
Right.
like how much did you play this week?
Exactly.
We're getting hard numbers straight from the source.
So think about it this way. Imagine you play your favorite game, for an extra hour each day.
Okay.
Do you think you'd be, like noticeably happier or sadder a few weeks later?
Yeah. Good point.
This study suggests probably not, because they found on average, the amount of time that people spent playing video games had like a really small impact on their well-being.
Oh.
It was statistically significant, but the effect size was so small, you probably wouldn't even notice it day to day.
Interesting. So you're saying like it really challenges those assumptions we have about, video
Yeah.
games and all the negative effects.
Right.
Like, are they really the big bad wolf we make them out to be?
Right.
If you're playing in moderation, it doesn't seem to be this huge problem, but
That's not to say that every game is the same, right?
of course.
And everybody's going to have a different experience.
Total.
And, this study was a great starting point, but they only looked at 7 games
Yeah.
out of thousands and thousands of games.
Right. Like think about all of the different genres and the online communities
Yeah,
and each person's individual experience.
absolutely.
So while this study, gives us some really interesting insights,
Yeah.
we can't just apply it to everyone.
Exactly. And there are so many other factors in a person's life.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That are going to affect their well-being. That,
It's impossible to account for all of it.
Right. So this study couldn't account for all those variables.
Right?
So if you're worried that your gaming habit is like ruining your life,
Uh-huh.
this study gives you some reassurance.
It does.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
This study also looked at why people play games.
Mm.
And that was way more important than how much time they actually spent playing.
So it's not just about the quantity of time,
Exactly.
the reasons behind it.
Exactly. They focused on 2 main types of motivation,
Okay.
intrinsic and extrinsic.
Got it.
So intrinsic motivation is like doing something because you love it because it's fun or it's challenging.
I like that.
So like, you're playing a game because you're totally sucked into the story.
Right.
Or you just love mastering a new skill.
Oh, yeah, that feeling when you finally
Yeah.
beat that boss or...
Yeah, you figure out that puzzle.
Like, I'm thinking about those times when I've just gotten totally lost in a game.
Yes.
It's like flow state,
It's almost meditative.
Yeah.
You're just completely in the zone.
And those are the experiences that the study actually linked to positive well-being.
Really?
But then there's extrinsic motivation, and that's more about, external pressures or rewards.
Okay.
So it's like you might be playing to level up so you don't get left behind by your friends,
Oh, yeah.
or because you feel like you should be playing to keep up with like the latest trends.
So you're not the one out of the loop.
Exactly. Or it's like, when you force yourself to eat something that you don't like just because everyone else at the table is having it.
Yeah, peer pressure.
Right.
Not fun.
Not a recipe for enjoyment.
No, not at all.
And the study found that those kinds of experiences were actually associated with negative well-being.
Wow. So it really seems like how you experience the game,
Yeah.
that sense of enjoyment and choice, really does matter.
Yeah, it's about the quality of the experience, not just, racking up the hours.
It's like anything else in life. I guess balance is key.
Exactly.
So this whole idea of, just setting screen time limits.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because we're always hearing about, like the dangers of spending too much time playing video games.
Right. Like you can only play for an hour a day.
Exactly.
But what if
That's-
if motivation is the key here,
Yeah.
then just like cutting back on the hours
Right.
might not be the whole answer.
It's like saying you can only eat for 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
But what are you eating during those 30 minutes?
Exactly. What if you're just like scarfing down junk food
Right.
because you feel like you got to eat fast?
Or you think that's what you're supposed to eat.
Exactly.
It's not really about the quantity, it's more about the quality of the experience.
Right. So instead of focusing on just like the time limits,
Yeah.
maybe we should be thinking about how to encourage
Like healthy gameplay.
Yeah. Healthy and intrinsically motivated gameplay.
But, like, what would that even look like?
That's a great question. I mean, what if we thought more about the reasons why we play games?
Instead of just, like, the amount of time.
Yeah, are we looking for a sense of accomplishment?
Or a way to connect with other people.
Exactly. Or are we just drawn to, like, the
The challenge of, like,
of a game?
yeah.
Or, like, exploring new worlds and stories?
Those are all, like, really good intrinsic motivators.
Right, and that can really make gaming a much richer experience.
Right. So instead of just being like, no more video games,
Yeah.
it's like, how can we make this a more enjoyable experience?
Exactly. And how can we be more mindful of our gaming habits?
Ooh, I like that mindfulness.
Are we playing because we really enjoy it?
Yeah,
Or are we just doing it because we feel like we have to?
like we should be.
Or everyone else is doing it?
Are we picking games that we actually like?
Right?
Or are we just following the trends?
Exactly.
Hmm.
What about the gaming environment?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Are we surrounding ourselves with like positive and supportive people?
Are we being good teammates?
Right? Are we taking breaks when we need them?
Yeah, are we letting you know gaming take over our lives?
Exactly.
Mm.
All these things can really impact how gaming affects our well-being.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance.
Right.
Like with anything else.
Like with food,
Exactly.
with exercise.
Like with work.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance.
So maybe instead of like fearing video games
Uh-huh.
or thinking of them as like, something bad,
Right.
we can see them as a way to like connect with people
Yeah.
and have fun.
And even like grow as a person.
Exactly.
But obviously we still need to be aware of our habits, right? I don't want it to become like an unhealthy obsession.
Yeah, moderation is key.
Always.
But I think this study really reminds us that video games can be a part of a happy and healthy life.
Yeah.
It's all about like being intentional and choosing games that we really love.
And finding that sweet spot.
Yeah, where it adds to our life.
Exactly.
It doesn't take over.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive, into video games and well-being,
Yeah.
what are like the main takeaways here?
I think the biggest one is maybe we need to rethink that whole, video games are bad thing. Like,
Right.
this study found that the time you spend playing doesn't really tell us if you're going to be happy or sad.
Right. It's not just about, how many hours.
Yeah.
You're sitting in front of the screen.
Mindlessly.
Yeah. And this massive study with all that objective gameplay data
Mm-hmm.
really showed us that it's the why.
The why.
Like, why are you playing?
That's what matters most.
Yep.
So if you're playing games because you really enjoy it,
Uh-huh.
like you love the challenge or the story
Yeah.
or connecting with other players,
Right.
those are the things that can actually have a good impact on your well-being.
Yeah. But if you're playing because you feel like you have to,
Yeah.
or like you're trying to escape from something,
Or you're just feeling pressure.
that might actually be doing more harm than good.
Right. It's all about, being aware of why you're playing
Yeah.
and picking games that, you really connect with, making it a more meaningful experience.
So as we leave you to think about all this,
Yeah.
think about your favorite games. Like,
Yeah.
what is it about those games that makes you want to keep playing?
Is it the story?
Is it the challenge?
The community?
Yeah. And if you're finding that like your gaming experience isn't as fun as it used to be,
Yeah.
maybe it's time to try something new.
Switch it up.
Yeah. Try a different genre.
Yeah.
Find some new people to play with.
Exactly. Or just, remember what it was like to play just for fun.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, video games can be such an amazing source of like entertainment
Absolutely.
and connection.
Yeah. And even personal growth.
It's all about finding that balance where gaming makes your life better
Right.
without, taking over.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.